Hello, it is Friday evening, and I am doing a LinkedIn live or a live stream, and my dog is barking in the background. Yeah, it's been a few tough days of working on stuff, but I'm plugging away at it, and I rather work on a Friday night than try to relax because I feel like I'm behind on everything, so it's giving me more anxiety if I were just to try to relax. So here I am. I think the live stream is on. I just need to figure out how to check out the live stream so I can see the comments because there are no way to do that over OBS for LinkedIn, unfortunately. So here I am testing stuff. Yeah, I don't expect a whole ton of viewers for this because this is impromptu and it's Friday evening. It's almost 8 p.m. And I'm gonna grab dinner soon, but I want to get some work done. And I've spent the past few days trying to figure out a drag and drop animation for this app that I'm building, and I'm pretty proud of it in some ways because it's much better than what it was originally. But at the same time, I know that I spent about 8 hours and over 150 prompt messages to get to this point. And it's nothing fancy. It's a typical drag and drop. And what I like about it is that it's smoothly animated. It's very smooth. I know exactly what's happening. The visual affordance for it is great. You pick it up and you can see there's a drop shadow that is cast immediately when you click and drag. So there's this visual responsiveness showing that whatever you clicked and selected is now higher up on the z-axis. And I think this is really important. I don't know if it's like something you can see easily over the live stream, but I have a bunch of tabs or filters that I want to reorganize or reorder here. And I vibe coded this animation. And the original one, the first iteration was very simple. There's no animation really. I just pick it up and it was just like magic. Well, it would just immediately appear. There's no animation in the order that I put it in. And now there is, placeholder space. So you can see that it's gonna go right after a mosaic grid. And there's a drop shadow, so it looks like it's being picked up. And it's a little bit larger as well. There's also a bounding box on the right. So if I drag this way out of the bounding box, it loses opacity between the lines here. So in here, you can see the blur entire panel is high opacity, and you move it out, and it becomes more transparent, telling you that you cannot move it when it's outside the bounding box. You got to move back into the bounding box, and then it'll work again. So I know this seems fairly simple, and a lot of this, works with frameworks off the shelf. But I wanted to do something a little bit more custom, and the reason for that is because I know craft is the weakest part of my portfolio, and if I want to land a top tier design role, I have to patch up this area. And in my opinion, craft in terms of definition is creating something that goes far above and beyond the basics. So I would say the first iteration of this was good enough. Like there's nothing wrong with it. And it would do exactly what you needed to do. I think the average user would be perfectly fine without this fancy animation. They can still get their work done. But when it comes to craft, I do think you need to showcase more. So yeah, so that's a goal here. I'm trying to get to that point. Uh, by the way, this is a live stream, so if you put in comments, I should be able to see it. We can chit chat if you have questions or you feel like what I'm doing is ridiculous and I'm wasting my time over investing in something with a very low ROI or return on investment. You're probably right. Again, I spent 8+ hours on something like this, and I went to bed at like 3 or 4 a.m. because I was so invested in this. And yeah, I'm proud of it in some ways. Like this is something that I've never made before in my life. as a designer. Like I never got to a point where I had the extra time to either design or code a fancy animation because there were large glaring problems elsewhere. Like the strategy for this product wasn't great, or um, the use case for it didn't make sense. There was no research, and at no point in my career was there a time when I'm like, okay, we have some time to spend on the delight aspect, make this, polish it up, make the micro interactions better. And this is like the first time where I'm really focusing on that. So it's taking quite a bit of time. And I feel like if I were to talk about the ROI of something like this, it's probably pretty low. But at the same time, the the unfortunate and the hypocritical or the contradictory part of this whole thing is that if you're a designer and you're looking for a job, they are asking for and measuring you on things that you would not be doing day to day in your job. So, yeah, like I'm basically doing work that most likely I will not be able to do at a real job at the vast majority of companies. Now, there are obviously certain companies like Airbnb and Apple where you can do work like this, but they're rare. And I would say in most companies, if you work in B2B space or in early stage startups, you don't have the luxury to hyper focus and invest double digit hours on something like a drag and drop animation. So yeah, I'm proud of it. At the same time, I'm like, okay, was this a good use of my time? Was the ROI worth it? And the answer is probably not, unless you're working on your portfolio. And I know that in a portfolio piece, this would be pretty cool. You usually do not see this in people's portfolios, and this thing actually works. Like these are all legitimate filters that I've designed and created for this tool, which allows me to, I can actually make changes in a live video feed, blur, as well as blend modes, opacity, and changing the mosaic tile. So all this stuff works and it's all draggable, which to me is pretty cool. I made something that works without having to write a single line of code. So here's what I realized in the middle of doing this. The real reason why this took me so goddamn long to figure out is because when you're talking about micro interactions, words are written content, which is what prompting is, does not work. Chris Tertarian asks, what did you build this in? I built this in Magic Patterns, which is an AI vibe coding tool. If you go to magicpatterns.com, you can sign up for a free trial. They'll give you 5 free prompts for free before you purchase the monthly subscription, which is like $19 or $20. By the way, I do like Magic Patterns quite a bit. What I like about it is that it is considerably faster than other prompting tools like Figma Make or Cursor or Lovable, etc. These other ones typically take, I would say, 5 or more minutes before each prompt on average. In my experience, it might be different for other people. And with Magic Patterns, it's faster. And I like that rapid iteration. Like, yes, it costs more if you're putting in more prompts, but if you're a designer, a lot of times you're entering in something, you're getting a response, and you're iterating on it. You're seeing how does it look and feel. Is this in line with what I wanted? Do I like this? And I have to tweak it endlessly as a designer. So if I can, cut down on the wait time from 5 minutes down to 2 or 3 minutes, that's a big win because that doubles my productivity. And I'm willing to pay extra money for that. So here I am with Magic Patterns. Anyway, back to my original point. What I realized is that micro interactions, or you're talking about like animations with drag and drop or drop down menus or anything that, I would say doesn't massively impact the usability or the general purpose of a product or tool, is really hard to get right in a vibe coding tool like Magic Patterns or Lovable, whatever, because you're trying to describe something that is very hard to describe. Like me saying, as I drag this, it would, slowly move up the panel that I'm replacing in the drag and drop. And this will happen in around, say, 20, 30, sorry, like 100 to 200 milliseconds. You know, I'm just ballparking here. I'm guessing what that is. And if you're a developer, you're probably writing this in code, like how many frames or how quickly something is, and what the ease-in value is in the framework that you're using. But with vibe coding tools, I'm not an animator, so I'm not able to describe this super precisely, and I can't really visualize it in my head. I'm just like guessing and testing it out, iterating. And as I'm doing it, I get the results and I look at it, and then I play with them, like, oh, does this feel right or not? And then I tweak it and say, make it a little bit faster, make it a little bit slower, and whatnot. And like, I don't even know what the space is called, this negative space that opens up when I drag this over. I'm calling it a placeholder for now, but I'm sure there's a technical term for it in if you're a developer who uses GSAP or GSAP or Framer Motion, whatever the framework is for animations. And because I don't know these terminology, I have to basically write it out. Or I'm like using layman terminology like animation speed and placeholder space and text and whatnot. So I would guess maybe 70 to 80% of the prompts that I used up, and most of my time is spent on little tweaks. Make it faster, make it slower, make it a little bit bigger. All the typical feedback that you might get from product partners. And that translation work that designers do is so tedious sometimes because people are saying make it pop, do something, make it better, right? Make it faster, make it bigger, whatever. And as a designer, you're kind of internalizing that, and then you're deciding exactly how much bigger to make something, or make how much more to make it pop, and you're deciding exactly what kind of pixels to move to do something like that. So again, a vibe coding tool is kind of like a shitty client telling you to make it pop. I'm a shitty client in this analogy. I am telling the vibe coding tool to do something, and it doesn't work well, right? But what does work well for most designers is you can use a tool like Figma, and you can use sliders and toggles and options to build something, which made me realize what I should be doing is to build the middle layer of tooling that should exist between me, the user, and the prompts, which is writing everything down. Because like, how do you describe the exact animation that you want using words as a non-animator, as a non-developer? There's too much being lost in translation. I don't know the terminology. I don't speak the language as a developer or animator, and it's just not working. It's way too slow. So I spent the last few hours building out a drag and drop tool that will let me tweak the exact drag and drop animation that I would want, so I can export the code using this. And this is this is the epitome of somebody who could hyper focus on something, and like hyper focus on the wrong things, because I'm about to invest 30 to 50 hours minimum building a tool that will save me maybe 3 to 5 hours of work. and I think that is so stupid, but also so interesting, and maybe this could be a good portfolio piece. So again, what this tool does is it mimics a card drag and drop UI and lets me adjust the kind of drag and drop animation I would get from it. So to start off, yeah, it's very colorful. Daphne, you're right. It is very, very colorful. These are just temporary colors to help you differentiate between the cards. And when you open up this app, you can select the layout, either a vertical column of cards or a row of cards or a grid. And you can also adjust the width of the card, the height, and the spacing between the cards. So it's kind of helping you set up an environment where you can play around with stuff. You can also adjust the grid column, so you can do 5 grids per row or 3, right? So I default by 4, and you can also add additional cards if you like. And here's where it gets kind of interesting. I have the option to select the drag type, drag and drop type. And I can either disable it, you cannot change the order of this, or I can do single step, which means I can only move a card by one place over. So I can move it and swap it, but only one at a time, or one placement at a time. I cannot move this green card all the way to the end. Won't let me. The next option is a swap, which means I'll select one card and drag it over to another card, and those two cards will swap positions. Fairly simple, right? Useful for a card game. And then reorder, which is to move the red card, say after the orange card, and then our yellow card, and the orange card would move to the first position. Or I can move it to the very end. So these are the basic drag and drop options, and I have to do a lot more to make this a good simulator. And my thinking is, if I can control all this via dials and sliders, it would be a lot easier for a non-animator but a designer to figure out and iterate on the exact type of animation and the speed and everything. And then there'll be a button up here that would let me export this either as Framer motion code or GSAP code that I can copy and paste into another AI vibe coding tool, or into Framer, or any website that you want to build. Or it can export as a set of prompts. So again, going back to the original app here, instead of saying, let's increase the transparency by 30% and see how that would look, or let's increase the width of the mosaic tiles by, make the mosaic tiles bigger, right? That's such an arbitrary and ambiguous term. Now I can play with the slider and immediately see the return, and feel like, okay, this is good. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm not thinking in terms of numbers or code. I'm thinking about it in terms of my visual sense. Like, I see something, does it look good or not, and I can play with that. And that is the goal of this. So I wanted to further this and sort of add more functionalities, because this is still very, very simple. This is much simpler than what I built here, which has all these different functionalities, these nice animations and all that. So I'm gonna get there, but I want to have options, because this is the option, the same option as reorder, right? This is not a swap. This is not a single step. And it'll be cool if I could actually, try out these different options for that and see which one I like the most. And with this one, I basically had to imagine it in my head, in my imagination of what it would look like. And then I would try to iterate and implement that. And it's like 50-50. Sometimes I get it right. And other half of the time, I'm like, okay, this is not right. I need to tweak it a little bit. And ideally, I should be able to tweak it here and just get instant feedback. Whereas here, I have to, type it out and think about how I would verbalize this feeling I have about how to make this better. And then the AI, the LLM, kind of fucks it up a little bit, gets it right maybe 30% of the time or 20% of the time. And here, I just get the right thing immediately. So that's the goal. In my remaining time here, I'm going to start vibe coding some more of this. So you can kind of see like how I'm thinking about building a tool like this. And yeah, it should be pretty chill. If you have any questions or ideas or comments, put it into the live chat. I'm reading it. Sometimes the live chat doesn't like respond very quickly or it freezes. So yeah, apologies. I'm monitoring it, and if I see it, I will respond. So let's talk about how I would improve this. And right now, it's a very basic animation. Well, there's no animation really. It just, you can see there's like a thin blue line that um, highlights the card, showing that this card has been, you know, selected as a potential swap position with the first card that I selected. So I can maybe create toggles to showcase how it could show it's being selected. The other thing I can do is to work on this ghost animation. So there's actually a little bit of animation. When I click and select the card, that card, as long as I hold down the mouse button, that card exists with the mouse cursor. So, oh, what should we call this? Let's call this, all right, ghost placement. No. Hmm. Let's call it drag ghost. Like, maybe I'll think of a better terminology. See, this is the other thing. Like, if you don't work on UI on the web often enough, you you don't know the right terminology. I'm sure there's probably a more official term, and I'm just calling it drag ghost. Add a panel to the left called drag ghost, and add the toggle. Okay, maybe I should explain this first because I should not assume that the AI knows exactly what I'm talking about here. Like, what is drag ghost? Like, I'm explaining it to you folks right now that the drag ghost is basically whatever appears under my mouse cursor when I'm clicking and dragging something. So I should explain it. The drag ghost is the ghost image of the card that I am currently dragging. It appears under the mouse cursor when I hold the left mouse button down on a card to drag and drop it. The ghost disappears when I let go of the mouse button. Keep in mind that the drag ghost is linked to the original card and also the ghost image of the card when it lands somewhere. So what I'm thinking is, you know, this ghost is a facsimile of the original orange card over here, right? And you can see it loses opacity. You can see both cards basically lose opacity, both the ghost and the card in its original place. So this is like a deep orange. But as soon as I click and drag it, the the original card's orange loses opacity, becomes more transparent, and I would say the ghost cursor or the drag ghost, which is under my mouse cursor, is even more transparent. So, oh yeah, I mean, do I want to differentiate this because there's the original card. I shouldn't call this drag ghost. I should call it on click. Maybe just call it drag animation. right? Let's be more open about it because there are actually quite a few steps when it comes to dragging and dropping a card. There's the original card, the selection state, and then when you hover over eligible positions or spaces where the card can be dropped, this is a choice. It's there the AI has decided that what I wanted to show for an eligible drop zone is highlighting the card that the card that's being dragged would replace or sit in. And ideally I would like this green card to like move out of the way and have that appear over here. So the orange card like wouldn't be back here anymore. It would like move over here temporarily. So how do I do that? How do I explain this? All the different permutations. Drag animation. So, oh God. Okay, you know what? This is actually quite complex. I'm gonna say what I wrote over here because I don't actually know how I want to break this down. The challenge isn't so much about what I wanted to happen. I actually have to think more holistically about how to design this current program so that I can get all the different permutations I might potentially want from a drag and drop card interface animation. So this is a cool thing. I mean, it's similar to planning within, if you use cursor, there's an option where called planning where you can um, discuss or plan how you would build something before you make any changes to the code. So that's what I want to do here. I want to add a panel to life called drag animation, and it would toggle all the different states and options that happen when I try to drag a card. Drag and drop card. So really, let's just call this animation, right? Because that's, you don't need to be redundant. This is a drag and drop tool. What should be the first thing here? We should have three. Here are the different things that we should toggle. Um, the drag, ghost, and this is what I wrote earlier. The drag ghost is the ghost image of the card that I'm currently dragging. It appears on the mouse cursor when I hold the left mouse button down on the card to drag and drop it. The ghost disappears when I let go of the mouse button. Keep in mind the drag ghost linked to the original card and also the ghost image of the card when it lands somewhere. So the drag ghost. The other one is the card that I am currently dragging. Does it stay in the original place that I dragged from? The currently dragged card, does it sit in the place I originally dragged from, or does it disappear, and or does it become the drag ghost, which is what I talked about earlier, or does it exist in parallel, simultaneously as the drag ghost? And what else? The new potential drag or the drop location. So when I select or when I hover over another position for this card, how does that, where does that appear? Huh. Matt Stanquist says empty state placeholder. Okay, maybe that's the right name. Matt codes. Matt's a developer. He knows the terminology. I'm a moron in this in this point. So empty state placeholder. The empty state placeholder. Is that an empty state placeholder? It says I'm not gonna. Okay, I'm not even sure which term you're referring to because I saw your comment a little bit late. But if you can clarify, that could help a lot. So the new potential drop location, the space that I am currently hovering with the dragged card. Does this is this a highlight of the card that it is about to supplant or replace, or is or do the other cards move out of the way to make room for the new cards placeholder? Or what else can happen? Um, or does a line appear representing the the empty space that or does it represent, or does a line appear representing which two cards the dragged card will potentially sit between? Organize my thoughts here and correct me if there are better terminology that I should use. So let's start from here because I do need to organize my thoughts a little bit. And this one is complex enough where I need to think through these things. Like all these other things are fairly straightforward, like editing cards, editing layouts, and the type of drags. These are, I don't need to like discuss too much. I can figure out the permutation on my own. This one is a little bit harder. Drag goals, native browser behavior, drag image or drag preview. Okay, that makes more sense. I don't know why I call it ghost because I guess, I imagine it with lower transparency. And yeah, source card, the original. Drop target indicator. Huh. Dashboard. Normal, no change. Highlight target, ring around card. Huh. This, okay, so more discussion. This is a great start. Add the option to edit the drag ghost, or the, what's it called again? The drag image. The drag image may be a pared down, simplified view of the card with less data and only the title. Or so like besides opacity, showcasing that this is the drag image, maybe we pare it down, right? Because it doesn't need to be maybe it doesn't need to be like a big orange card. Maybe just like a smaller version of that. Smaller. Simplified view of the card with less data, only title. Not sure how to define this yet. In the response above, edit the prompt output so that I have the options to select between all these permutations or options via sliders, toggles, and drop down menus. All right, let's clean that up a little bit. Hmm. Oh God, I don't know if LinkedIn messages are frozen or there's just nobody talking in it, but I can't see anything. And LinkedIn's really slow for me right now. Like if I try to refresh it, it doesn't really work. And the messages don't appear unless I refresh, but it takes like 2 minutes to refresh. I don't know if it's Cloudflare because they had another downtime earlier today after like a week or two. Yeah, not super reliable right now. Hmm. Okay, this is not bad. I'm not gonna read through everything, so let's implement this. Implement all this under the animation panel. Try to let's start with this. See where we go. Okay, while I was doing that, let's read through all these options. See what they came up with. Drag image selection, show shadow, rotate slightly for dynamic effect. Also enlarging it. Oh God, I made a mistake. So what I should have done is identify the three main things that happens: the drag image, the drag source, and the drop indicator, and focus on one at a time. Let's start with the drag image first, perfect that before we go to the drag source and the drop indicator. Because right now I'm trying to implement too much, and what I'm experiencing with these tools is that if you try to implement too much, most of the time you're not going to get what you want. And there'll be like 15% of it will be good, which is like good for iterations. You can like see all the different things available and you can immediately just know, okay, this wouldn't work, this would work. Let's include this. Let's go back to the previous version and only ask for A, C options, G and H, whatever, and scrap the rest. However, when you do this, a lot of the functions don't work exactly what you want it to, the way you want it to work, because it might be buggy. It might give you results that you're not really looking for. So this is not ideal. It also takes a lot longer. So like I'm just waiting right now to get a response so I can evaluate it and then improve it. And I don't really have the patience for that. So it's usually better in my experience to build on it little by little, bit by bit. You know, have an idea, add it, and then tweak it and improve it until you like this small piece, and then add another piece on top of it. Now, the drawback is you do this, and after a few dozen hours, your app or whatever it is you're building becomes so bloated that either bugs start to appear, like you would add, you would change or add one thing here, and then something else totally unrelated in this app breaks, and you have to go fix that. Or you do a poor job, because as you add stuff incrementally like this, typically the architecture of this app sucks. And if you want to fix that, you have to, it's just so hard to fix. You just have to scrap the whole thing and basically migrate over. And the way I migrate is to, put in go into the prompt and choose a discuss option, and basically ask for it to recreate or reverse everything we built here into a prompt so I can copy and paste it into a fresh beginning. So anyway, it came back. Let's see what it does. Okay, so it gave its own sections. Huh. Yeah, nothing here works really. Oh, actually that kind of works. Icon only. Okay. Full card. But opacity I don't think worked. Yeah, 100%. This is not 100% opacity. 0%, that is accurate. Okay, so it's not going to give me 100% opacity. And the scale kind of works. Yeah. So 100% versus smaller. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Lets you rotate. Okay. I like this. This is actually working pretty much. So what do I want? First of all, let's focus on the drag image panel first. The opacity at 100% is not truly 100%. It's actually around 70 or 80%. Let me select up to 100% and show a fully opaque drag image. The scale, I want the scale to go from, does it go down to 0%? Or it goes down to 50%. So maybe even smaller. I want to go from 5% to 150%. And the reason for that is when you make it large, because right now it's smaller, right? I know that saves space, but when you, if you pick it up and it becomes like a drag image, if it looks larger, it actually looks like it's coming up. So you give that dimensionality to the drag and drop. So I do want to go up to, I'm not going to choose 150%. I think 110% is probably like the most I'll ever go. But I like to have the option to play with it. And then show shadows. You know what? It doesn't need to be. Should be a toggle because shadows are actually quite complex. It's not just a drop shadow. You actually do need to. There are a lot of different things you can add to it, right? So, oh God, what should it be? Do we do something kind of simple first? Because right now there's a shadow, right? All right. What should I do? All right, I gotta check to see where my delivery is because I'm getting really hungry. And so another 15 minutes before I can eat. So maybe we do another, let's do 15 more minutes. Telling my wife when the food is coming. I'm running on fumes. That's why I'm talking slower now. All right. So drop shadow. Um, hmm. Change drop shadow. Change drop shadow toggle to an opacity slider from 0 to 100%. So I don't really want to, I'm going to go halfway, go the middle ground. And I'm not going to, toggle the shadow's distance though, and the color and all that. I'm just going to keep at opacity for now, but I'm going to fix that eventually. Rotate slightly toggle should be replaced with an angle. Oops, not angle selector from minus 90 degrees to plus 90 degrees with default at the middle at 0 degrees. All right, so does that do everything I wanted to do from what's it called again? Drag image. The other thing you'll notice is that every time I pick up the card, even though I can click in like different parts of the card, like the upper right corner, it always acts like I'm picking up from the same location in the card, which is like the middle-ish top left instead of, let's say I choose from bottom right. It just looks like I'm choosing from the same spot. So, huh. All right. Add toggle to select between picking up the card drag image with the mouse cursor in the middle of the card, or pick it up based on where the card I clicked on with the cursor. And ask questions for clarification. I know I'm not describing this point well. All right, what else can I do to make this better? What other options should I give so that I have the options I need to make a drag and drop animation that works well? Maybe a toggle between clicking once and between hey Josh, it's almost 9. I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm like running on fumes right now. You see I'm a little bit more energetic and enthused. So I'm talking slowly and lowly. All right, toggle between I forgot what I was talking about. Shit. My blood sugar is like running low. Toggle between oh yeah, how to select a card to drag between clicking and holding down the mouse button, double clicking, or click once to drag and click another time to drop. So what that means is I don't need to hold it down. Just click once to select the card and then I click a second time to drop the card. To drag, select the card to drop. I wrote and twice. God, I am not sharp right now. I click another time. Click a second time to drop. Can cancel the card selection by right clicking or left clicking outside the canvas or pressing escape on keyboard. All right, so I think this will cover a lot of the full card. Like, I'm not even talking about the compact part yet. So let's remove the other options from the style. Only keep full card as the default option. Okay, so I'm removing the style drop down menu and other options from this and 3 of the 4 options and all options except for full card. Keep full card as the default option. So I want to simplify because I don't think these other options are really that valuable yet. And I don't want to spend too much time working on that when I know full card is like 95% of the use case, most likely. So let's enter this and see if it can make the changes that I want to make. How's everyone doing? Are you enjoying the weather? If you're in the Northeast right now, it's like minus something degrees. It's freaking cold. Maybe it's not that cold, but it's definitely like, let's say like 20 something Fahrenheit, and that's like negative something Celsius. 30 degrees, actually better than I thought it would be. But it was like colder earlier in the day. It was like 20 degrees or something. So it's gonna get warmer overnight to 32, freezing. So let's see. Josh says, Tanmei, I feel like Google's AI surpassed Claude over and OpenAI overnight. It's crazy. Yeah, that's a crazy thing about large language models. Like every time they release something, it's either gonna be like not much of a change or it could potentially be a really big change. And Josh, it's 55 degrees and you're cold. Oh, jeez. Well, don't come to New York. I don't think you'll enjoy it here. Don't come to Northeast. Stay in LA. LA is nice. I've never been there, but I would like to go someday soon. So, yeah, just waiting for it to update. Ooh, the animation here is a little bit funky. I know it's correct. Like it's ordering from left to right. Oh, actually, I need to add the option to count it in different way. But really, it's left to right, up to down, or right to left. So maybe in China and like other locales where people read from right to left, like Arabic would probably be the case as well. But I don't have to worry about that yet. Anyway, let's try this out. Let's close these panels. Uh, why is okay? Drag type, drag image. Okay, so at 100% opacity, it's still 100% opacity, it's still not 100% opacity. Let's say it's like, it's not even 50%, I bet. The drag image opacity is still not accurate. At its highest, 100%, it still looks like it's translucent or 50% opacity. So let's cue this up. Can I get the scale right? Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. Shadow depth. Shadow opacity. Let's do 100%. Did I see a difference? Yeah, I can see a difference. It's 100%. Okay. It's not bad. It's not the worst thing I've made. So I'm not focused on the other stuff, like, actually animating it yet. I'm just focused on what the drag image is going to look like. And that's the first issue I have. Huh. Okay. It's not accurate when it's offset. Is it accurate for center? No. All right, so let's talk about that. The cursor position should be renamed to cursor position on drag, just to be specific, because that's like not a common term. The center option is not accurate. The cursor is consistently, it's not the center, it's like the top left, a bit to the top left. Make sure it is truly the center of the card. Okay, let's go to offset. Oh, it's really inaccurate. The bottom right corner is pretty accurate. No, it's not. The bottom corner is a little bit more accurate. The offset option is also inaccurate and changes look, and it's also inaccurate. It is more accurate when selecting on the bottom left, bottom right of the card. The other, let's see what happens if I select middle. Yeah. It feels like the mapping is warped for whatever reason. Drag activation. So we did, no, we were click to select, right? Click and hold. Okay. Ooh, okay, so that's a bug. If I switch in the middle, so click and hold, that's correct. Double click. So clicking once doesn't do it. Oh, that's, oof. I've broken it. All right. You know what? To be frank, I don't think. Okay, so click and select works. I don't think double click makes sense. I can't really think of an interaction where you need to double click on a card to move it. Remove the double click. I mean, that's broken. So I don't. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it's broken. I don't feel like fixing it because it's not a common use case and I want to spend my time elsewhere. The double click option from drag activation. All right, so these are the bugs that I've noticed, and hopefully it will start to fix these bugs. We got like single digit viewers for this live stream, and that's more than I expected. So thank you for watching this shit show on a Friday night. Appreciate it. And thanks for chatting with me. Yeah, I'm pretty like stressed out and just like very burned out. It's only like 2 months in to this whole process. I'm like tired already. Got like 2 more months to go. I don't know how I'm gonna make it. I don't know how people like look for jobs for a whole year. I'm not saying like I don't understand how they take a whole year to do it. I'm saying how do they survive doing this for a whole year without messing up their mental health? I find that to be really challenging because this whole thing is it's an ordeal. I don't know if you can hear my dog bark in the background. He wants to get into my room and say hi. Huh. Okay. That kind of works. All right. So drag type, drag image. Oh, it's 100% is still not 100%. The scale was working. It's still working. That's good. Shadow opacity. Um, it's still working. And rotation. Let's see. So we're at 0 degrees, 40 degrees. Yeah. I don't love this feature, but the AI suggested it. So I don't think 90 degrees. Like, you could just. 90 degrees makes no sense. So maybe it should be like 45 to 45. All right, so here's the main thing. So let me make this 0. Let's make the scale. Oh, maybe it was the scale that was the issue. So let's try 100%. Oh god, it's so hard to get 100%. Yeah, it's definitely not correct. Click to select. I think that was working. And click to hold. Yeah, that's working. All right, so same issue. Okay, still having issues with cursor position on drag. Neither center nor offset are accurate. I wonder if like tweaking the size of this changes things. No, it doesn't. Speaking of opacity, no. I mean, it shouldn't, but like I've seen some weird bugs are accurate. It hasn't changed since the last version. All right, and then opacity of drag image is still not capable of looking like 100%. Should I try to trick it by going to 150% opacity? Because that doesn't make any sense, but maybe I'll fix it. It feels like what should we do? Let's just say that like maybe the AI will figure it out. So here's the thing, like there's some really weird persistent bugs that are quite obvious. Like, okay, opacity is not 100%, or some, when you click on something, like the layout moves completely. So there are some weird bugs. And I can point it out and I can describe the bugs really well. Like I say, oh, it shifted layout over by 24 pixels or whatnot, and please fix it. And it just doesn't work. And I have to like, I kind of have to think about this a few ways. There are a few ways to tackle it. Either I can repeat the same things over and over again. It's like, you did not fix the bug, try to fix it again. And sometimes that works, but most of the time it doesn't. So you're kind of like risking the time and credits you're spending to reiterate the issue. And I think it works sometimes because the AI tries out one potential solution, and then when it doesn't work, it tries out the next solution. And I've had instances where after like fifth or sixth time where I'm just like frustrated, I'm just like, just try again, try again. It eventually fixes it. And then other times it doesn't, and I have to like really diagnose what the issue is, and I have to like really measure the error, either by measuring the pixel or the colors that's being changed. Like in this case, if I really want to diagnose this, I know it's still not 100%, even though it's like default 100%. If it's not 100%, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a screenshot of this, and I can actually. Well, actually, no, I could, right? Yeah, I could take a screenshot of this, and then I'll go into Figma and measure the exact opacity that this is going to be, that this drag image is, and then put that into the prompt and say, at 100% opacity, it's really 55% opacity. And that sometimes helps it out because you're defining the exact output that's happening versus like what you're seeing with your eye, and you're guessing, oh, 100, it's not 100%, it's around 50% or whatever. If you can get it down to exactly the opacity percentage, you're going to have a higher chance of fixing the bug. Yadi says, why am I here on a Friday night hang? Good question, Yadi. Hello. First of all, thank you for joining on a Friday night. I hope you have more fun things to do than to watch me struggle. But yeah, I don't know. Why am I here on a Friday night instead of enjoying dinner with my wife? I make poor choices in my life, and I hope people who are watching this do the opposite of what I do. Like, you should not be doing OnlyFAANGs. You should not be doing this on Friday night. You should be enjoying time with your family, and you should be, looking for a job in other ways. Lillian says, I keep thinking you'll finally go and eat dinner, but you're still here. I don't know when to quit sometimes. I have really bad ADHD, so like time is just a concept to me. I'm very time blind at times. So, okay, so looking back at this, opacity did not get fixed. And oh, center did get fixed. So here's the thing. This took 2 or 3 tries, but it got the drag, no, sorry, it got the cursor position on drag correct. Originally, it was like to the top left. If I hold it from the center, it will like appear over here or something. But now it's by default the center. Let's see offset. Ooh, that's accurate as well. That's good. Yeah. I like offset. It's like wherever you picked it up, that's where it's starting to drag. So, huh. So it's using relative coordinates, then applies the scale dimension. So it's figuring out the coordinates first, and then it's calculating the scale. So let's see, what does that do? Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, that looks accurate. I mean, now it's just holding 5% doesn't make sense, but yeah, that's good. Okay, so we got that bug out of the way. Center versus offset, that's good. That's pretty good. Opacity. How do we want to tackle this? First of all, the question is it worth tackling something like this? And the old me would say, no, it's not worth it. Like, this is good. Like, most people would just settle for not 100%. This is like maybe 50%. 50% is pretty good. This is a good approximation of what it should be. On the other hand, this is the same opacity. Like, I mean, this is already the layer itself is probably like 80% opacity, so you can see like a nice background blur or whatever. Oh, that's another thing I should add. See how it's blurring the layers underneath it? I like that effect. So maybe I should add that as an option. Don't let me forget it. But yeah, it's definitely not. I mean, this is 100% for the whole component, which I like because it feels like I'm picking this thing up. It's not a ghost. So what should I do? Give it one more try because that worked earlier for the cursor position on drag bug, which took 2 or 3 tries to fix. You know what? Let's actually discuss this because maybe we can figure it out. Opacity for drag image is still not showing like showing correctly. It's lighter than the options I've selected. Let's discuss what might be causing this bug. So let's do that. I don't know if that's worth wasting credit on, but I don't think like with these AI coding tools, I think the biggest cost is not in the credits, but the amount of time it takes for you to wait. And the return time is like both not long enough where I can like just get up and like do something else, like cook dinner or do a complete different action and then come back to it in a timely manner. But it's not short enough where I can just like feel productive because I'm like waiting. Now, obviously on a live stream, I'm like chatting with you folks, so that's fine. But when I'm on my own, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm just like twiddling my thumbs. So, oh yeah, didn't do anything. Just I'm on discussion mode. Huh. It might just be a browser limitation. So all browsers apply transparency to whatever image that you're dragging. Okay, so that's probably it. You can get around it, of course, by layering a second image on top of it, doubling it up, and now you have 100% opacity, or you can just render another image. Because if that's the case, where it's yeah, huh. Okay. I'm gonna ask something really stupid. What if we go above 100% opacity? Let's try 200% opacity. Does it cancel out the browser limitations? Let's just fucking do it. Let's let's implement. All right, so this is me being a bad developer. I mean, I'm not a developer, but if I were a developer, I feel like this is a very hacky approach to things. I think the right thing to do is actually um, render the image or the facsimile and then not rely on the browser because the browser is probably, treating this as a certain component of all images that you drag and drop. So let's see how that works. So let's go to New York Times. Oh, so I want to find some images I can like click and drag. Huh. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is the default. Maybe New York Times, the people who like who built the site didn't really differentiate, or they didn't decide what the transparency is going to be, and they're relying on the browser default. So that's probably it. So let me try that. Like, what if I? Yeah, that did not seem to work. Well, first of all, I didn't even do it. Oh, so 100%. What if I do? Did that make a difference? It did not make a difference. So let's go back to previous version because I don't like this thing I just did. All right. Okay. So since this is a browser limitation, let's render the drag image a different way so that the browser does not affect it. That should work. I mean, I'm using like very layman terminology for it. So maybe hopefully you'll understand what I'm talking about. But let's give this it's a time box because like if I were a smart designer, I would say I'm gonna give like two prompts to this. If that doesn't fix it, I'll leave it alone because this is not like a feature breaking thing, and I think the current iteration or the current version of it is fine for like, you know, 80% of the people who might use this tool in the future. So yeah, let's see. Does that fix it? All right, if you're new to this live stream, we got like two people watching this right now because it's Friday night. If you're wondering what the hell I'm doing, I'm vibe coding a drag and drop animation tool so that I can export the code or the exact animation look and feel. So I don't have to tweak it via prompting. I can just use sliders to figure out the exact timing and the animation type and all that. And then I would press an export button I'm yet to build, and I can copy this as a prompt or as instructions and exact changes into Framer or Webflow or my personal website. Oh, it fucking worked. Oh, it's really okay. So I got the opacity. It's very laggy though. Okay, so I feel like this is gonna have some repercussion down the line. I mean, already we have repercussion, right? Okay, so add. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I want to create a toggle that lets me choose between the browser default versus re-render this as another object in the DOM, because I have a feeling if I re-render this like what I'm doing right now, there are going to be repercussions later on. And I mean, already we have repercussions with performance, and later on we might have other issues. When you use browser defaults, then it's going to be easier for whatever framework we're using to connect with that and to leverage it. So yeah, I mean the easy thing to do is to create a toggle, but the other thing is we default at like 50% opacity, and as long as under 50% opacity, it's going to use the browser default. If you were to go above 50%, then we will re-render this image, or we will re-render the drag image so that you can go above 100%, sorry, 50% opacity. So that's my solution. It's a little bit, I want to say it's hacky, but I mean, yeah, it is pretty hacky. But that's one way to get around the browser limitations. And maybe it's like hiding too much of it so that people aren't really aware of what it is they're doing when they go above 50% opacity. So let's default to 50% opacity for drag image and use browser default for the drag image. If the user goes above 50% opacity, use the render a new drag image in the DOM so that I can get around the browser limitations. Add a red dot to the opacity slider on the upper right corner if we are rendering the DOM versus rendering the drag image in the DOM versus using browser default. Okay, so that should fix it and also be a safer approach to it. Oh, the other issue is the rendered drag image seems really slow and choppy and unresponsive. Yeah, it's kind of working. Freezes. It freezes for 1 second or so very often. All right, let's see if we can fix that. And then if it works, I'm going to go and have dinner because it's 9:07 p.m. in New York and it's fucking freezing. So, folks, thank you so much for joining and watching this. I am really tired, but I'm going to keep working after I grab some dinner. And you might be thinking this is a complete waste of my time, and you might be right because I'm working really hard, spending 30 plus hours on a drag and drop simulator using building it with vibe coding tools so I can save time in whatever drag and drop I'm trying to create here, which I like. Again, I like this, but it took me way too long to get to this point of like delight or polish, whereas I can just get it there much faster using sliders instead of prompting it little by little. So let's see how this looks. I'm so hungry. I ordered takeout from a sushi place. Come on. Okay, it's writing a lot of code. It's like 500 lines of code already. Nope, they shrank it. It's only hundred something lines of code. Okay, so that's decent. It didn't give me the red dots, but oh wait, no, never mind. It didn't refresh yet, so okay, so this is very, very smooth at default, right? 50% opacity, but if I go above, oh yeah, so red dot does appear. It's custom. Let's see, let's do 100%. Oh geez, it's even worse than before. Huh. When using the custom render of the drag image, it's still very choppy and freezes. Also, when I first click to drag the what's it called again? The drag image appears on the top left of the browser window. Let's do. Yeah, at 0, 0 coordinates. 0, 0. And teleports under my cursor once I move my cursor. Again, this is very choppy, and let me just feel my laptop. Yeah, it's probably resource intensive. Is there a more efficient way for this? All right, this will be the last prompt, and I can grab dinner because it doesn't seem like it's gonna get much better after this. Anyone have good plans for the weekend? My plan is to keep working on this and not give up until I get this finished so I can put in my portfolio. I don't know if this is going to be useful for other people. I assume so. Like if you're using GSAP or Framer Motion and you're not a developer, you don't really know what the code is going to do until you actually build everything, right? So why we reversed it? We use a tool like this to get the animation effect we want, and then it'll generate the code ideally. The code's probably not like best, but it'll at least work, and that's kind of where we are right now. Huh. This shouldn't be as resource intensive as it is now. It might just be like a bug somewhere. Who knows? Yeah, this the new AI tools are pretty insane. I haven't crossed a threshold where I'm like generating images because I find that pretty unethical and just like a terrible waste of resources and a violation of people's rights and also privacy and whatnot, because we're just stealing, vacuuming up images to create these models. But I'm very much using AI now to build tools, and that's like a sacrifice or compromise I'm making. It's not really sacrifice. I'm not sacrificing anything. I'm like leveraging or exploiting the environment to build this. Okay, now it's accurate, but it's super choppy. Oh my god. All right, you know what? I might just scrap this. I don't know if this is like worth it for me to really tackle, but actually knowing myself, I'm just like super obsessive sometimes, and I'm so stubborn. Like when I see these stupid ass bugs that don't really matter, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna smash this. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna make this work. And I spent like hours building something and fixing something that doesn't really matter. It just like creates very little delight or improvements. Like this is 100% opacity is really not that big of a deal. It's not the most important thing. And look at this. This is shitty. This it's so slow and choppy. But I can't give up. This is a mental illness. All right. Why is it's so choppy and unresponsive at 100% opacity. Is there a more efficient way to render this? Is there? There has to be. There's no reason why it should be this choppy. So if it's below 50%, it looks great. Since you're using custom rendering in DOM, huh. All right, switch to pointer events. I don't know what pointer events are, but you know what? I'll try it. All right. I want to look up in ChatGPT what are pointer events. What are pointer events? Pointer events give you low-level control over dragging without relying on React, DND, Framer Motion, GSAP Draggable. They're part of the standard browser API, and React supports them out of the box. It's not great because I'm already using. I should actually ask this. Like, what are the frameworks I'm currently using? Is it Framer Motion, GSAP, or something else? List them all. Let's give this a try. Come on. Hurry up so I can go eat. I give up. I'm getting hungry. So I'm going to go and grab dinner. And again, thank you everyone who watched me struggle for the past hour or so. I feel so burned out. I'm so tired. I hope you have all a lovely weekend. Oh, wait. It's done. All right, let's look at this real quick before I jet. Okay, now it's much smoother. Can you get 100%? You can. So, all right, we fixed this bug technically. Let's see what frameworks we're currently using. Like, I don't want that many dependencies, but maybe this is what we have to do to get the results we want. All right, that's working. Offset. Looks good. Good. We're using GSAP. Are we using pointer events? Are we using pointer events? What are they and what are the cons of using them for this project? Yeah, I'm curious, like, does this does using an extra framework dependency affect things? I think developers typically know this and they say, yeah, it affects it. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not great. I'm curious. Okay, so we are using it. Modern Web API unifies mouse, touch, and pen input into single event model. HTML drag events with browser. All right, so here's the issue, right? Because I'm using two different things: HTML5 drag events and pointer events. Depending on the opacity of this, so it'll either go from HTML5 versus pointer events. It's gonna have some detrimental side effects later on that I don't know yet. So maybe I'll leave it alone for now. But yeah, this is a good start. Like now I can determine. Oh yeah, one more thing. Um, add toggle. Wait, add slider to adjust the blur of the background underneath the drag image. This is gonna be really cool. I like this a lot. So if that can do it, like it'll give you that liquid glass effect. That'd be cool. What else? Is there shadow opacity? Oh yeah. Okay, opacity 100%. Nice. All right. I'm gonna enter that and I'm gonna go grab dinner. So again, thank you everyone for watching and I'll see you next week if you're still inclined to watch me suffer in a really boring live stream.